I am Jaimee. I live in Austin, Texas, and I am a recruiting leader.
Recruiting leader. We share that in our background. And fun facts: Jaimee and I knew each other during our days at Facebook, so we go way back. And Jaimee, can you talk to us just a little bit about what was going on in your career that made you want to look for some help in the first place?
Yeah. So I was a part of a RIF last year. So going back into the job market, and I think it was a very different market in 2023. I approached it in a probably more outdated way. And I did find a role later on in the year, but unfortunately, it was not the right match in terms of what I was looking for. So I wanted to be really intentional about the next steps that I was going to take. And I knew I had, I think, a strong foundation being in recruiting of how to interview and those sorts of things. But being in that seat is very different than being the interviewer. So I was really looking for support in terms of feedback that would be different than those within my inner circle and board of directors that are within the recruiting world, but also really focusing on networking.
Love it, love it. And so when you were, realized you needed some help and you were out there kind of looking for options, what was important to you and what made you ultimately choose Career Amp?
Yeah. So knowing you was a big plus, and I've always respected you. So just knowing your style, you're honest, you're realistic, you're kind, but you actually give very tangible actions that lead to results. So that was really important to me. And then I was just really looking for accountability. I could make excuses all day long about why I wasn't going to go network, and I just really I knew where I was at. I needed something to hold myself to actions that was going to get me to where I needed to go.
Totally, totally. Accountability is such a huge part of like motivating and working towards goals. So I'm glad that you saw that. Well, yes, in yourself, but also that we can help with that too. So next question, which is, what would you consider your biggest win inside the program? Obviously, you're in a new gig, which we're so stoked and thrilled for you for and about. But what would you consider your biggest win?
Yeah, certainly finding the new role. It actually did come from networking, but within my network. But I think for me, it was getting more comfortable with networking, which sounds very interesting because being in recruiting, everybody thinks you're incredibly extroverted, but I would never put myself into that bucket. So really putting myself out there was the biggest challenge for me, and being authentic to who I am and how I like to make those connections. So I think the biggest win for me is I went into it being like, oh, this is going to be the hardest thing I've ever done. I'm really going to have to drag myself through this. But it was really actionable in terms of how to approach it. I found something that felt very genuine to me, and building my brand, but it also like 95% of the conversations that I had were amazing. Like I don't think I had that expectation in my head. I thought they were going to be very awkward and uncomfortable and people not wanting to hear from me. But on average, I probably had about 10 to 15 networking calls a week. And I really feel like I found folks outside of just people that I've worked with before to actually build a community around.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's great. And if someone were watching this conversation, or if they are watching this right now, and they are on the fence on whether or not they want to join Career Amp, what would you tell them?
Yeah, I think it's an investment in yourself. And I think you should always be thinking about it, whether you're happy or not. You don't always get to dictate if you get to stay in the role of the company that you're in. Learn that the really hard way. Had a false sense of security where I was. So I think this program really helped me to pull myself out of probably the funnel vision that I was really kind of I put myself into, and it set me up for not only to find a role that I was more interested in and was a better match for me, but I think also positions me for longer term career strategy of how to build up a network, keep those networks, think about documenting your successes along the way. So I'm really appreciative of this program and of you.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'm appreciative of you. I love that we've like kind of done this over the last like 6 years, which is
Yes.
so fun. And we're just so thrilled for you. Anything else that you wanted to add before we sign off?
No, I mean, I even in my networking calls, I was just screaming from the rooftop because people were like, "Why are you reaching out to me? I loved your pitch. I wanted to talk to you because of that." And I always plugged this program, so I'm really excited to continue to watch you all grow. And I'm a huge fan, and will continue to be an advocate along the way. So thank you.
Thank you, Jaimee. You're the best. Congratulations to you. So stoked.